is the biggest and baddest track on the NASCAR calendar, 2.6 miles around this beautiful Talladega Superspeedway. Talladega, Alabama, 94 times gives us 250 miles for the Rock God on 250 and round number 2 of the iRacing Stock Car Association Tucson Sound Art Cup Series in the first season of 2022. Hello and Happy New Year, one and all. My name is Little Paul. I've got Alfonso Nixon beside me in the commentary box. Rob Melody once again down behind the cameras for tonight's race. We get set to kick off what could be a thrilling start to this 2022 season and the 2022 year. So, Al, round number 2 out of 11 here in this first season 2022, and it's another 250-mile event. The last one at Atlanta Motor Speedway just 2 weeks ago with that break for Christmas. And what do you think we can expect for tonight's race coming to the fastest NASCAR track on the calendar?
This is Talladega. This is not a race. Look, let me tell you this, Brian. They have not written a song, Nola, about any other track in NASCAR but Talladega. So tonight should be no exception. What I'm expecting is single file racing until we get down to the last stage, and then I think all hell's going to break loose.
And of course, this is where the 250-mile races will come to a close, at least for the time being, as next week we swing on over to Rockingham Speedway, a track with so much rich history behind it. That's where we're going to be seeing the low downforce, high horsepower package for the first time in official ISCA racing here in the iRacing Stock Car Association Tucson Sound Art Cup Series. That'll be a 200-lap event. We're kicking back up to 250-mile races, and that'll be at Texas Motor Speedway over for round number 4 on the season. So we take a look at the schedule now, and I tell you what, Al, there is a good number of races that I think everybody is looking forward to. You got a lot of famous tracks coming on up here. You got the Worldwide Technology Raceway. You got the very famed North Wilkesboro. Don't forget Daytona, both the road course and the oval. Auto Club Vegas rounding out the season. It's a very thrilling season coming on up for us here in the next few weeks.
Absolutely, and I know these drivers can't wait to get this race underway because this right here is going to probably be the pinnacle of their season. They're going to get to run some of the longest races that they will, and that's also going to be a chance to solidify some of those partnerships that are going to be forming for the beginning of this season. So if this race is anything like the Thursday race, hopefully these guys will be able to work it out, work together, and provide us some very outstanding racing here tonight.
Of course, let's take a look at the standings for how this is going to play on out here for this race. Presently, in the top of the point standing, you've got one, Chris Severa, right in front of last week's winner, Josh Schofter. Severa currently fastest in qualifying here tonight, sitting on provisional pole. But that being said, qualifying, it can often not mean a whole lot at Talladega with how fast things could go sideways and with a 4-point gap. I think it's safe to say here, Al, that a swing for the points lead is definitely not out of the question in tonight's race.
Absolutely, and drivers are going to want to try to stay out of the big one, but they're still going to want to have the opportunity to be present at the end of those stages to pick up those very valuable stage points because, this year we are mirroring NASCAR with the stage points being inverted at 10, where the 10th place driver gets the 1 point and the first place driver gets the 10 points. So those points and stage points are really going to be very, very important for these guys as the season goes along.
And qualifying just now, drawing to a close from Talladega Superspeedway. We'll take a quick step away. We'll be back soon with the Tucson Sound Art starting grid. But for now, it's time for the national anthem.
Race fans, it is time for those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Starting on pole position for your Tucson Sound Art starting grid is points leader Chris Severa for Gas and Go Racing. It'll be Kenny Powell beside him on that front row. Rounding out a GNG 1, 2, 3 is going to be Chris Johnson on row number 2 with Noah Bitts, first driver for Frontline, down in 4th place. Joshua Watson for JBR is going to be in 5th place with Greg Wachinski down in 6th. Newcomer to the league, Barrett Gutpold, making his first start from the 7th position. Richard Elliott beside him in 8th. Adrian Watts and for Shake and Bakes, Frank Flores rounding out the top 10.
Brian Watson takes over 11th with Wayne Grassy coming in at 12th. Ryan Cliver, Marty Phillips for 13th and 14th with Joshua O'Connor and Robert Paddingale coming in 6th, 15th, and 16th. 17th is Ken Aland. 12th, Jay Hone. 19th, Paul Olsen. 20th, Don Avery. 21, Kyle Green. And 22, Gary Adamson rounding out the field.
4 cars, 19th through 22nd, not setting times in this grid. And Jay Hohen, I can tell you right now, sandbagged on his lap as he's a second off from Ken Alen's time up the road from him. Meanwhile, up the road from about Chris Severa all the way back to Ken Alen from 1st to 17th, the spread is about half a second in terms of total lap times. Now, one thing that I noticed, not just in this race, but also the Thursday night race as well, before in the Gen 6 cars, drivers would like to use that first lap to build up speed from the high line. Not this time around, though. A lot of drivers only actually utilizing one lap or pulling off for the second one. So it's a bit of an interesting dynamic as we can already see just how different these Gen 7 cars drive in comparison to the old Gen 6s.
Yeah, absolutely. This Gen 7 car kind of has a mind of its own, and the car changes a little bit as it starts to lighten up on fuel. So it'd be interesting to see if these drivers are faced with any washouts or just looseness around each other as we start to take off here for this race tonight.
Before we get things underway, I want to give a shout out to the guys that helped to keep the lights on here for the Iverson Stock Car Association Tucson Sound Art Cup Series. Tucson Sound Art introduces an entirely new and enjoyable way to listen to music in your own home. Uploading and making your own images and pictures into Sound Art is easy as 1, 2, and 3. Everyone who looks at the picture will wonder where the great sound is coming from. A single charge will last days and gives you the ability to go truly wireless with no power cables. Sound Art looks good in any room in the house, from the front room to the back room. The speakers are powered by batteries that receive audio via a Bluetooth connection, and nobody will even know that the art they are looking at is actually producing the sound that they're hearing. Tucson Sound Art specializes in creating custom artwork from your personal artwork and photos. You can also choose images from their expansive collection of high-quality photos. It's the perfect gift for friends, family, and business associates. To learn more, visit www.tucsonsoundart.com. Once again, that's www.tucsonsoundart.com. So on the back straightaway for the final time before we get things underway here at the Talladega Superspeedway. 22 drivers, bit of a dip off from the 30-some car grid we saw over in the Thursday Night Butt Kicker Cup Series. What do you reckon we can expect from this 22-car field? You're mentioning some single-file racing. I don't know. Might get kicked off a little bit towards the end of those stages, though.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting to see if these guys are going to work together. That's the biggest thing that you're going to need. I know these teams are going to do everything possible so they can get lined up, whether it be the front or the back, to run together. But everyone's got to avoid the big one. That's going to be something that I'm going to probably say 2 times tonight, because we're just going to be sitting here at Talladega waiting on the big one. So as we come around here for the last time, the pace car gets ready to drop off. Nona, get us ready to go racing.
As it says on the back of Chris Severa's G&G Affleck number 62, whatever happens, happens. Pace car is down and in, but it is a long wait around all the way through this trial before we can get this race underway. Chris Severa waiting on the iRacing starter as they go through the restart zone. And we say, from Talladega, Alabama, it's time to get this party started. Green flag waves as Severa leads them to the green.
That's odd that Severa actually decides to jump up to that high line. I guess he's just trying to do that to cut Powell off, but there's really no reason I would give up that inside line, as that inside line is going to be the line that they're going to want to drive. That's going to be the fastest line around this racetrack here tonight.
You want to know what he was doing? He was moving up to bring his teammate Kenny Powell with him, wanting to make sure that he pulled ahead of Noah Bitts. And they both dropped in line behind their G&G teammate as well of Chris Johnson, making it a G&G 1, 2, 3. Now, this is definitely strategic here. Over the Bucket Cup Series in the Thursday Night League about 3 nights ago, Frontline was oh so dominant, and G&G gave it everything they had, but they just were not able to beat out one Noah Bitts, who clinched the victory on the last lap when it was one Heath Schneider that ended up holding up this group in behind. So now, looks like G&G looking to potentially fight back against Frontline. They look to now see if they can dominate this Saturday night race at Talladega.
Yeah, no doubt these guys want to be out front, as they do have something to prove. But these cars are probably going to be running speeds close or if not over 200 miles an hour. So that's got to make for some exciting pack racing in itself.
Bitts moving up to the top side, not wanting to waste any time. Joshua Watson looks to try to fill the gap as Bitts tucks back in line. Nobody went with him, and we're single file all the way throughout this 22-car grid. And even better news here, Alfonso. Unlike what we were seeing earlier on in the Thursday night race, nobody so far splitting apart from the main pack. No Bitts again moving to the top side, trying to side draft and pull Chris Johnson back, trying to force a hole. Not going to happen, though, as Chris Johnson manages to break free. And now Bitts is going to be set to drop all the way down this field, potentially down to last place.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about this. You know, you're driving in there and you tucked in front of behind the guy in front of you, and all of a sudden he checks up and you jump outside just to find yourself to get shuttled back to the back. And you just can't get back to the front as easy as you can get to the back. That's another issue.
Bitts is going to get in line between Joshua O'Connor and Ken Aylen, but Aylen's going to have to really push here to get Noah Bitts back up to the field so they don't lose the draft, and he's going to get up there just fine. So far, no drama so far throughout the course of tonight's race. Pattengale moving up top further in the back. He's going to be shuffled a little bit further out of line in the number 17 Tucson Sound Arm Mustang, and it's going to let Jay Hone of the STP Mustang start to break through. He's trying to run down Paul Olson, pulling Gary Adamson, and one Kyle Green with him. So that number 19 car marked as the 77 on track is looking to potentially have a solid run here tonight. Still all 22 cars in this main pack, but look back to Robert Pattengale starting to lose some serious speed here, Al. I think he might have just lost the draft from the lead grouping. So moving out of line when you're that far back in the pack, it can be detrimental to your race, and Pattengale learning that one the hard way here tonight.
Yeah, the only silver lining for him is that as long as he can stay on that lead lap, maybe, you know, he'll have the consolation of a stage flag. You know, it's not like he's going to get shuttled all the way back there to the rear, and he might even, you know, miss a big one if it shows up. But it is pretty disheartening seeing those guys drive away.
You mentioned, of course, the fact that he does have the stage cautions coming on up. We didn't manage to actually touch on that for green flag racing here tonight. Stage 1 comes to a close at the end of lap 20, Stage 2 at the end of 40, and from there, green flag racing to the end. So, as always, fuel not going to be a factor in Stages 1 or 2. It's a heads-up sprint to the end, and one scheduled stop for all drivers over in stage number 3, just like we were seeing 3 nights ago in the Butt Kicker Cup Series. So far, it's been a solid run for all these drivers out there in the field. Everybody's looking to just play nice and patient. Nobody's wanting to make any kind of super desperate moves just yet, and I don't see any reason to, right? I mean, you're just about a tenth of the way through this race. You have a long way to go. No point in making some stupid moves early on that could find yourself being dumped out of the race early.
You know, as we've watched the Gen 6 cars as we've had different packages through the years, and has actually dictated the type of racing that we would have at Talladega, whether it be 2x2 or groups of 3. The only thing that really works for these cars seems to be nose to tail. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one?
I have to agree. I mean, the air bubble that these cars can generate is so much that you can't even get close enough to bump traps. You really do need a solid pack. You saw Ryan Cliver get shuffled out of line, thought he might be in trouble for himself and Ken Aylen, but a big checkup further up the field will allow Cliver to close right on up, and you'll now be able to be in the mix of things just on the cusp of potential stage points as O'Connor moves into the top 10 for one of the first times all day long in his number 39 Regiment Toyota Camry. So a couple of drivers getting shoveled out of line as now O'Connor's going to be moved further to the back. Noah Bitts starting to slowly but surely pick his way back out through this field. Now Bitts cracking into the top 10 for the first time since he lost it early on after starting in the front row. He's going to give it a bit of a shot to the back of the JBR machine of Brian Watson. And now Brian Watson has got the right idea. He's got Adrian Watts just ahead of him. So the two JBR teammates kind of running a little bit further back within the top 10, but so far still maintaining some decent pace and nobody having too many struggles just yet. Further down the order, I mentioned O'Connor starting to slip back. He just now got back in line, but that was after he passed last place. Can he get up to speed, or could he be at risk of losing the draft, just like Pattengill did several laps ago, who at this point, well, he's a solid 6 seconds off of just the next car in front of him.
Yeah, that's a very interesting move for Josh to actually drop out like that. I don't know what he's actually thinking, but maybe he wants to see if he can actually get that 39 car to actually poke its way back through the field. But these guys are just sitting in, because the one thing that you really want to do right now is figure out how close you can get to the car in front of you, how much before that air disrupts on your car, and whether or not you can keep the draft. It's pretty impressive these guys have been able to stay as tight as they have as we've gone through lap 10.
See, I'm not so sure it is the fact that he moved out of line willingly. I mean, just in the Thursday night race, there was an incident coming out of turn 2 where somebody lost it all by themselves, completely unprompted, slid all the way down and slammed the inside barrier just because they got loose. These cars are very, very sensitive when it comes to aerodynamic drafting like this. And we have been seeing this even in the real world, right? I mean, look at the Charlotte Motor Speedway test. There have been so many single car spins and slides that resulted in some pretty tremendous hits, especially with the pit barrels out at turn number 4 there. So you have to wonder if that's just how these cars drive. They're so aerodynamically dependent, and when you got a little bit of a twitch like that, you tend to get shoveled out of line, and before you can jump back down, somebody's already filled up the hole. So I'm not sure if drivers jumping out willingly. I think they're getting unsettled from all of the various slipstreams going on behind them, and it's just drivers trying to keep their cars sorted and not trying to make any moves that could see them tumbling out of the race.
Yeah, these cars definitely don't handle like airplanes, and they do get a little twitchy. So it's probably not going to be too far off to see some single car spins, especially when we get into that third stage where cars are going to run themselves down pretty much low on fuel. And I will tell you, when these cars get low on fuel, it's a different car than it is when it's got a full tank.
Brian Watson is being a bit aggressive down the front straightaway into turn number 1. Had the door no bit to try to keep himself in line, and then almost got spun by Ryan Cliver, who had to go down onto the apron to avoid him down the back straightaway out of 2. So Brian Watson looks to almost be getting a little bit desperate here. We're now halfway through stage 1 and up in front. Chris Severa has so far led every single lap of this race. Trouble on the front straightaway. Look out, Bitts. JBR getting spun around with him. And it looks as though it was Adrian Watts' 08 machine that got into him. They save it. No caution. We stay green. But a huge slide for both drivers down on the front straightaway, possibly initiated when Watts tried to close a gap that Bitts had already filled.
That definitely isn't what you want, man, because here that aerodynamic smash is very, very important. You can't have any damage to aero on these cars at Talladega.
And I don't know if we can go back and get a look at that, because it was amazing how they didn't send those cars into the inside wall. I thought that was where they were probably going to end up for sure. And now you can see the replay. There you see the contact, and that is some wheel work from Noah Bitts. Keep that car pointed in the right direction. So consolation for Bitts is less than 10 laps away is a stage yellow where he'll be able to fight back and potentially get a solid run going forward for himself. He has now since tumbled towards the rear of this field. So far, the only thing keeping him from being in the last place is one Robert Pattengill, who is still over 10 seconds back at this point. So up front, it is still the G&G 1, 2, 3. Joshua Watson sits in 4th, and now Adrian Watts is well, shall we say, not necessarily linked up with the other JBR members of the crew up the road. So Brian Watson might see if he can link up with Richard Elliott and Joshua Watson. Those 3 drivers can get together. They might be able to gang up on the G&G trio that currently runs 1, 2, 3 as they have since lap 1.
It'll be interesting to see when these guys decide to make their move. You know, we're coming up under 10 to go, 8 to go in the stage. you're going to have to put that hammer down and see if you can affect the change. I think at the end of the stage, you're going to have to play your cards out. You got to throw them on the table and see what you can get instead of just staying there in line. I think somebody's going to have to make a go for it.
I couldn't agree more, and I think you have to also be a little bit more concerned about, the stage points. They can be oh so critical. I mean, look at the last race, right? Josh Schaffner won the race, and with that comes a 5-point bonus, right, for winning the race. Yet, because one Chris Rivera got more stage points, he not only surpassed the race winner, but also the 5-point bonus that came with it to take the points lead by 4 points. That's how much extra stage points he got. These stages are oh so important. They could very much be the make or break areas in a championship like this, especially with the regular Cup Series that doesn't have any playoffs or points run backs to try to help out guys that might have a bad race early on.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be in it to win it. You can't just duck out. You really kind of got to stick your nose in there because otherwise you won't get any points. So as we start coming into the end of this stage, guys are going to have to, make a move. I want to see it. I want to see you guys get a little bit aggressive and get some 2x2. Let's go.
Here you see Jay Hone leading the train of 5. He was broken off for the main grouping. He is running 15th at the moment. Gary Adamson is 16th with Green, 17th. O'Connor and Olsen also in this train. And Jay Hone not wanting to lead this train, as he has mentioned, he is going to be moving high to let one Gary Adamson lead the train when they get out of turn number 2. So that is a bit of an interesting move there for Jay Hone, who does not apparently want to be quite leading this train.
Yeah, because you, being the lead car in the train, you stand the greatest probability of actually getting hit.
Well, not to mention the fact that you burn more fuel. That shouldn't be too much of a factor, though, considering this is only the first stage. They should be clear, even if you're pushing out there from the end, by about 6 laps or so on the fuel. So I wonder, I actually wonder if Jay Hone is trying to use this as a speed tactic, right? Maybe trying to move a little bit wider, take a wider exit out of 2, and that might just secure a better run off of the banking that comes down onto the back straightaway. Maybe trying to boost their way back up to the main pack. I'm not sure if it's going to work out for them, but it couldn't hurt at this point, right?
Yeah, I don't think their strategy is working because I don't believe that they just decided to fall back from that lead pack. I think that lead pack just said goodbye. So as these guys, what they're going to do is they're going to find that once you lose that lead draft, man, that's the hardest thing in the world to get back.
And Jay Hone now is passed up for the lead of this train. Adamson went up to the top side. Green, O'Connor, and Olsen all went with them. So now Adamson and Kyle Green lead this train, but look further up front. Time is starting to run out. Chris Severa still holding the race lead, but Joshua Watson looking around to try to maybe take third. So far hasn't been able to mount a proper charge for the top 3, but he's been making more and more looks out of every single corner. And with 4 laps to go, you have to wonder if he'll be able to make a run for it. And how about Barrick Uphold, right? New driver to this league, just joined earlier today, and now he is looking to be at least in the top 5, so some serious stage points for the number 92 Bucky's machine. So who knows? Maybe that Mustang could find itself potentially with a stage victory. That would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, especially on this inaugural race. I mean, what a great way to welcome yourself into the league, right?
3 laps to go at the line. It's usually around 2 or 1 to go when things really start to kick on off. That's when everybody starts to try to gang on up. The problem is that Richard Elliott and Joshua Watson, as well as Brian Watson, all have cars in between them, and conveniently, 2 of the guys that are all separating them, they happen to be good friends. So you have to wonder, will this potentially be a problem for JBR in their efforts to try to overtake G&G to go for a stage win?
Well, this is definitely the time as we come to 2 to go. Pit lane's going to be closed. I seem to be eating my brain today, man. I'm trying to figure this out.
Through the tri-oval, pit road is closed. 2 laps to go in stage number 1 from the Talladega Super Speedway. On the Thursday night race, stage 1 came to a very premature end when a caution came out with just 5 laps remaining in that opening stage. That looks like it might not be the case today. We got set to run this stage out to the end. So when do you think, if there's going to be a move made by JBR, when do you think that move's going to come here?
I think it's too late now to make the move, but the person who's really going to benefit the most from this is that 17 car Robert Pattingale, as he's going to save himself from going a lap down and possibly even get some much-needed repairs to figure out why that car's off the pace. As we wrap up this stage 1.
Ryan Cliver's got a charge, just overtaking Brian Watson, and he's trying to make one up on Flores as well. And now you can see Joshua Watson looking to maybe make a move further up the road. That's not going to go anywhere. Chris Severa pulling away with the lead. How about Kenny Powell checking up the field, trying to make sure that Chris Severa's got a bit of breathing room to work with. Oh, trouble off the corner.
He's coming back in.
Oh, coming back up, colliding with Warren Marty Phillips. Caution is not yet out. Now the caution flies. As stage 1 comes to a premature end, gifting the win for stage 1 to Chris Severa. Now, what in the world happened here? Looks like he might have gotten turned by Brian Watson.
I was wondering, when the 6 car went up high like that, I was wondering what exactly his intentions were. But he came up and he went right back down. He was trying to make something happen ultimately, but he did.
Gotten to Wayne Grossi, and Wayne Grossi, I think, scared Marty Phillips into the outside wall.
Yeah, that's not the way you want to end the stage.
So a wild end to stage number 1. We'll take another look at this one from the air. There you can see him moving up with the checkup. It was a bump from Brian Watson. I don't know if Grossi actually got into Marty Phillips. I don't believe he did. So your stage 1 results: Chris Severa, Kenny Powell, Chris Johnson, Joshua Watson. Bear got pulled with Richard Elliott 6th, Flores 7th, and it's Brian Watson, Ken Ayland, and Don Avery to round out your 10 cars that got stage points here in this opening stage. Yellow flag pit stop's about to be underway here in just a moment. I think we'll wait until this cycles on through before we give a chat to our stage 1 winner. I think it's safe to say everybody's going to be coming in. Question is, will it be tires or fuel? It's a very split call over in Thursday night race here, Al. Some guys took fuel only, some guys took 4, some guys took 2 tires. Interestingly enough, left sides only for most of those guys.
Yeah, tire wear here just really has never really been that big of a deal. And ironically, it seems that it takes the same amount of time to fuel the car as it does to put 4 tires on it. So unless these guys aren't taking a full tank of gas, it will be interesting to see what their pit strategies are going to be. I think the biggest thing, though, for me, Nolan, will be track position. So I think if guys are actually going to short pit it, it's going to be so they can actually get up front to start this next stage.
Severa led them in, and he'll lead them off by a country mile. Kenny Powell's going to go with them. How about Marty Phillips, though, making up a bunch of spots? Got wrecked under the caution to bring out the stage 1 caution. He's going to come out 3rd, so 13th to 3rd for one Marty Phillips, and that is very, very interesting. He was only in the box for about a second, and I wonder, I'm seeing it now. Missed his pit stall, actually, and couldn't back up because he's been disqualified. He is going to have to come back down pit road.
Hey, this is the best place to miss your pit stall, but unfortunately for him, there's not a car that's a lap down. So, be interesting for him. That's going to cost him.
Well, with stage 1 concluded, why don't we see if we can't potentially dial up your stage 1 winner, Chris Severa. This is Nolan Rempel up at the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hello.
Well, stage 1 comes to a close, and thought you might be in a little bit of trouble. And I saw Kenny Powell winding up for a sucker punch coming towards the end of stage 1. Kind of got saved by an early yellow there.
Yeah, we were definitely seeing him. I thought it was Chris behind him backing up at first, and then I saw Kenny backing up to him as well, which then, of course, forced my hand. I started to back up to him. I don't think they would have had much of a run from where I had him right where the yellow came out. It seemed like Kenny was just starting to push me away again, but again, as soon as Kenny got to me, it looked like he was starting to back up again. So I don't know if a stack up caused it, but I mean, we'll take it. We'll take the stage 1.
Of course, teamwork is absolutely everything at a track like this, especially with a draft package like this. Are you confident in your team to be able to potentially get your guys, at least one of your guys, up on the podium, or do you think there are any other teams that you might need to be concerned about today?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I'm not quite sure because I haven't been able to see many other people run as a team out here this week. But I think we're just going to work together and come the end of this stage here, stage 2. But in stage 3, I think it's going to be a little bit more gloves off, even between us all of us. But you know, hopefully we can make it a bit more exciting up there for you guys.
Well, fingers crossed you'll be able to put on a bit of a show for us at least later on in this race. And pleasure's always been able to talk to you up here on air. Chris, before I let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out for your G&G Affleck 62?
Especially Kenny this week at G&G. Well, him, Chris, just a bunch of guys at G&G just for testing a bunch of different setups. You know, it's a play track. Anything can work, so there's a million different things you got to test to get those extra couple of tenths out there. So big shout out to G&G, and you guys, as always, appreciate what you do.
And thank you, Chris, for taking the time to join us up here in the broadcast booth. Best of luck in stage 2.
Thanks, guys.
Lights are on the pace car, 1 lap to green. Let's take a really quick commercial break. We'll be back when they exit turn 4.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
In turn number 3, it's been an exciting first stage so far, coming to a bit of a premature end on the final lap of that opening stage. And what do you think our odds are, Al, that we might see a similar ending in stage 2?
I think you could pretty much set your clock to it. But the biggest thing is we've got to get these guys lined back up again as we go green flag racing, because it's, you know, you can't assume that that line is just going to mend together. You know, we're going to have to blend this together. So let's see what happens as the pace car gets ready to come on down pit lane.
Pace car is off. Marty Phillips had to come back down pit road. He has yet to catch the field. He's just out of turn 4. So Marty Phillips will get all caught up and right at the buzzer, too, for the number 21 Starbucks coffee for Mustang. So leave it in the hands now of Chris Severa. Got a good launch last time by on the initial start. Will it be same second verse, same as the first? Green flag drops. It looks like that will be the case. Already pulling up to help out Kenny Powell. This time, uppull jumps to the inside. Chris Johnson tucks in line for third. G&G 1, 2, 3 into turn 1.
Not wasting any time lining these things up single file. And I think as we get a little bit deeper now, that lead pack is going to go ahead and start to stretch its legs out. These guys are going to put their foot down because they don't want to. I don't think they're going to want to leave the opportunity at the end of this stage for that door to get closed.
And already everybody single file. Look at Ken Allen, though, way down the yellow line. Entering turn number 3, getting a bit low for comfort there. Thought at first he might lose it. Went all 4 wheels below the line. I think he actually might have been given a bit of a tap from behind by Joshua Connor, that unsettled the number 52 Hallmark machine. So having to kind of scramble a little bit, but gets that thing back together. Now trying to regain lost ground. And where's good John Avery? How about Joshua Watson trying to pull up on Chris Johnson? And that pulled up the inside. Oh, gets cut off by Joshua Watson, who forces the issue and forces his nose into the gap. Uphold might not like that. And you'll have to wonder if he's going to be so willing to work with that JBR 01 now.
Well, you know, he is the new guy.
It's not going to stop Uphold, though, from just abandoning Watson on the outside line, moving up to 4th for the Bucky's 92 Mustang, right up to the back now of Chris Johnson. And now you can see Joshua Watson starting to fall back through this field. Gonna have to try to tuck in line. No room, though. That's your teammate down there. Rich Elliott getting close with Noah Bits. And all of this while Greg Wachinski jumps to the top side to make a move on Joshua O'Connor in the Regiment 39 Toyota Camry. So a pretty crazy restart, all things considered, in stage 2. And now, side by side through 1 and 2. This is terrible news for the second pack here, Al, as you can already see a gap starting to build from O'Connor up to Ken Allen in 7th.
not what these guys are going to want. They're going to want to try to get back in there and get settled down. But, you know, like you said, these guys they're not wanting to pop out. They're getting pushed outside because of forces that are really out of their control. So the best you can do is just try to pedal that thing and kind of get it back straight and hope that you can not lose too many positions. But as we see now, there is definitely starting to become a discernible line between that first pack and then these 3 cars right here and then that last pack.
Seven laps in, 14 to go in stage number 2, excuse me.
Yeah,
all of this while Wachinski tries to get a run from behind. You got Josh Watson and Noah Bitts also in the mix, and that's going to get a bit tight in your first pack as Bitts puts Watson down another spot. So the good news is that second train caught the first, and now that's going to make it about 10 cars strong. But there's Wachinski all the way back to the other drivers in this field. We're starting to get set up in a second line of their own.
But if those guys don't keep it a lot tighter, they're going to find that gap's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. The more the cars are bobbing and weaving and to get out of line, the longer it's going to take them to close that distance.
Deep in the field, Brian Watson trying to make a move to try to push his way further up in the second train. It backfired miserably, though. He's got Adrian Watts, his teammate, to help him, but they're not able to establish a run. Kyle Green's kind of thinking about where he wants to go right in behind. This is going to get crazy here. Pattengill jumps to the top side. Grossi's up to the top side. Adamson and the Red Bull Mustang abandoned down low. Now Pattengill ditches the outside line entirely with Jay Hone. The entire back train is completely discombobulated at the moment, and there's just nobody able to properly establish where they want to be at the moment, and this is just killing their momentum.
He said discombobulated. You're absolutely correct. If these guys can't get it together, I'm afraid they're going to see that lead back coming in their rearview mirror. I mean, you can't do that kind of racing here. A lot of guys have tried it. They've been programmed, like Severa said, a lot of different things to get speed, but being out there on the outside isn't one of them.
I mean, even up in front, we're seeing several packs starting to form. I mean, G&G have steadily started to break away from 4th and 5th behind, and then you got 6th on back to about the 9th place who are all in one line. 10th, 11th, and 12th are all in a pack of their own. So this is honestly starting to look more like a group of cars after a great cycle of green flag pit stops. What do you think happened to our front grouping? I mean, it's a bit of an interesting moment of what these guys are having to experience here at the moment. I mean, I didn't think we'd be seeing a pack separation this huge, this early in a run of a stage. I mean, you will have to wonder there's some kind of massive checkup that forced everybody kind of out of line. I can see Bear Gutpool trying to work with Frank Flores and maybe make some ground on the G&G top 3.
Or maybe you think maybe these guys don't trust each other well enough to work together, because it just doesn't seem like a lot of people are wanting to work with certain people. I'm trying to figure out what's what, but it's just this whole cheese dip isn't coming together like Velveeta.
It's a very possible factor, right? I mean, a lot of these guys have their own little teammates that they want to work with, and they don't necessarily want to work with anybody else. And all that does, though, is hurt not just your own momentum. It hurts other people's as well, and that means none of you are able to get up to the front running. And that is, I think, what makes it such a difficult situation to properly try and judge, especially if you're that rear train right now. Now, interestingly enough, the train deep in the field, that is the biggest train on track. If they could get themselves sorted, they would be the fastest grouping out there, and they'd be up at the lead before long. The problem is they're not working together, and that's what's really hurting them at the moment and causing them to slip even further back.
Yeah, it's like the more those guys get out of line, it's like the more they're pulling that whole group back. That's the easiest analogy we can use. And I know a lot of people are probably wondering why do they keep talking about this, because aerodynamically, it's like hanging your hand out the window of a jet, man. You're just slowing everybody down.
We're over halfway through stage 2 at this point in time as you see Marty Phillips bail out to the top side. Just a quick update as well on Ryan Cliver, who was collected in that opening incident. He has retired from this race, so he is our first retiree. That took place about 11 laps ago at this point in time. Look at Kyle Green now working the top side of Wayne Grossi. He's got Gary Adamson in the Red Bull Mustang trying to help, but it's not enough space or speed to work with. That's going to allow a JBR duo of Brian Watson and Adrian Watts to work up the inside of that number 19 machine of Kyle Green. It's a bit of a sketchy thing to watch, right? I mean, you kind of find yourself in a very bad position when you're stuck on the outside like that with no help.
Yeah, this track's 2.66 miles of loneliness if you don't have somebody to work with right now. As that second pack there with Noah Bitts, those guys, they're literally watching that lead pack just get further and further away from them. And this isn't what you want at this stage in the stage. You want to actually try to be able to close that gap, or at least have the power to close it. But what these guys are going to find out is I don't think that power's there. I don't think you're going to get the speed to close that gap.
Up in the race lead, you are currently watching Don Avery, who is leading the second train. He's got Bitts in line along with O'Connor, Wachinski, Watson, Aylan, and Elliott. This is the group from 6th place on back to 11th at the moment, though Elliott and Aylan are both starting to drop off from even the second pack as well. And from there, looking at my notes, it is about 2.8 seconds up to Frank Flores, who is the last driver running out of your top runners as well. Now, Frank Flores, it's a bit of an interesting subject, right? I mean, when he originally came into this league, he was really high up in points, but that was only necessarily because he was one of the few people that actually was turning up on a regular basis. Started to slip back just a little bit as more people started racing this on the regular. His average finish started to slip into the top 10s, right? But now, running up in 5th place. Of course, these super speedways, these are the tracks that people consider to be great equalizers, right? They're the tracks where anybody can win as long as you know where to put your car. You think Frank Flores could potentially get himself on victory lane tonight for the first time?
Man, you're spot on it. With a track like this, super speedways, anybody can get a win. I mean, this is you just literally have to be available at the last lap, and you can get a win, or pray for rain. Who knows?
Side by side of the third train, Jay Hone battling it out with Brian Watson, trying to fight for control over who leads the train. JBR wants to be the ones to head this one up, coming to 5 laps to go. So Adrian Watts on the top side, along with Brian Watson. Green's going to go with them, leaving it Grossi, Pattengale, and Jay Hone on the bottom side. Gary Adamson just kind of flitting in between 2 different lines of the back, thinking about which one he wants to work with. I think he's just kind of running his own line at the moment. Taking whichever draft seems to be pulling away the most.
This is a very interesting move, and I'm interested to see how much distance these guys get and how effective this move is, because this is going to be the last chance that you're going to get to actually try your hand at a closing tactic, so to speak.
Out of turn 4, it'll be 4 laps to go. JBR is looking to take the lead away. They are going to take the lead away. Now, here's the thing. Do they abandon Kyle Green and chop down and leave Green out to dry? Looks like they're going to do just that. Kyle Green now with no help topside. Number 77 guard took a gamble going with 2 teammates, and it backfired hard. Now he is going to be dropping back all the way to 19th place. Again, if he can tuck in line, still has the potential to work his way up, put himself in a good position for stage 3. But at this point, he's well out of the question for stage 2 points.
Yeah, you're going to have that on those big jobs.
So coming to 3 laps to go. Still a G&G 1, 2, 3. Severa, Powell, Johnson. That has been your top 3 really since the start of this race from lap 1. It has not changed, and it is looking like it's not going to be changing anytime soon. So 3 laps to go. Pit road close to this next time by. Stage 1 ended under a yellow flag for both Thursday and Saturday night races. Now, stage 2 and Thursday ended under green. Got hope for stage 2 here yet?
No.
All right. We got two different predicted outcomes. It'll either go green or we'll see a similar incident as to what happened in stage 1 on this final lap in about 2 minutes or so time.
I think somebody's going to get a little bit excited, try to get an extra point, and that might not work out.
Kyle Green thought about coming to pit road, but pit road closed right before he could get in there. So Green was going for pit strategy, shot himself in the foot, though. I don't think Green realized that pit road closed 2 laps for the end of the stage. So Kyle Green made a gamble to try to come down to the lane, who was already slowing down on the apron out of 4 when pit road closed. Disaster for the 77 car. And meanwhile, they're coming around to start the final lap of the second stage. Now, Chris Severa had his teammates backing up, ready to gang up on him when we got around to this white flag the last time around. And it looks like it's going to be a similar situation. So, final lap in stage number 2. Look in the background. Don Avery's got a charge on Barrick Upfull. The second train's there, charging around the outside line. G&G's got to scramble if they're going to try to keep that second charge at bay. Upfull's doing everything to try to hold on to whatever stage points he can. Avery's being shoved by Noah Bits in the front line machine as they enter 3 and 4. Is there going to be a move for the lead? Contact in the corner as Avery almost gets turned. Bits jumps to the low side. It through the front straightaway and the tri-oval. Will there be a move? Chris Severa, though, not going to happen. He is going to go back-to-back and win both stages here at Talladega.
Interesting how that outside line tried to make that move, and then right at the end almost, the whole thing just disintegrated. So guys are taking copious notes on this because they're going to want to see how soon they're going to have to make that run to close this thing at the end of it. But the poor 19 car, I mean, that's just got to be, man, bad luck.
I know exactly what he was doing. He was going to try to pit right before pit road could close, and that would cycle him through to the race lead when everybody else pitted under the caution flag, right? It's just unfortunate that pit road closed as he was slowing down, but I think what was better is when it closed, he still had enough time to gas it up and get out of pit road before he would enter it, right? Because if he didn't have enough time and then got black flagged entering closed pits, that would be, I think, the nail in the coffin for his race.
Right, and pits, right? Pit strategy right now. That's the key, because right now it's going to matter how fast you get on and how fast you get off of pit road, because right now your race position is going to determine that, and you're going to want to be up front. You don't want to be in the back as we get ready to go into this last stage.
So we already talked to Chris Severa earlier on. We'll give a chat with our second place finisher in stage 2 this time around when the pit stop's complete. And then I think we can, when the green flag drops, things settle out, we can dive a little bit more into how the pit strategy could be playing out here in this third and final stage. And we'll get some insights from Powell as well as all of that starts to settle on out and teams start to plan out their approach as to how this could play out throughout the rest of this race. Severa leading them down. It was fuel only last time. Do you think he'll lead them off again, or do you think he's going to take tires this time around?
I think he's going to take tires because he's going to set himself up to not have to take tires as he comes in later on. He's just going to want to gas and go, I believe, when he comes in for that final pit.
So everybody's in the pit road. Chris Severa into his box cleanly. No struggles there. Left sides only for Chris Severa. Once again, unique pit calls start to ring through drivers in their pit boxes. And same story for Kenny Powell. I want to get a bit of an insight as to how this is going to play out, as I don't think Severa made it out of pit road. I think Uphold might have just had him. No, Severa did get the lead out of pit road, so he will now cycle through. And with pit cycles now complete, we can give a bit of a chat here to our Stage 2 P2 finisher, Kenny Powell. This is Nolan up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, a bit of an unfortunate mistake for you on pit row, missing the box, but good news is you still come out in the top 10, though I have to ask, I'm a bit curious about this because we saw this in the Thursday night race as well. What's with taking left sides only? Because I don't know what is going on with that.
Yeah, the here at this track, the tire wear is almost nothing, but you have to pay attention to the temperatures, and the left sides actually heat up more so than the rights. So yeah, it's the benefit to change the lefts.
Sort of an interesting thing that you end up changing left side. Usually it's right sides only, and if it comes to a two-tire stop like this. But we continue to focus on pit strategies, and of course, stage 3 is when that's going to matter oh so much. First round of green flag pit stops is what we can expect with how this race has played out so far. Does G&G already have a strategy for it, or are you going to play it by ear?
Well, we had one until I just messed it up. I don't know what I was thinking on pit road. I my one chance to get in front of my teammate, the sly way, was to pass him on pit road, and just tried too hard there. So not sure. We still got 2 G&Gs up front. I'm sure they'll stick with the same plan, and I'll just have to see what I can do to get up there.
Well, you've still got over half the race to be able to work your way back up and through the field to potentially link up with your teammates. And, of course, teamwork, very, very important. We got Severa's thoughts on this earlier. Are you confident in G&G to be able to put at least one of your cars up there in victory lane, or do you think there are other teams that you might need to be worried about coming into this final stage?
I'm very confident we can get a couple positions up in the on the podium there from G&G, but I never count out. I'm not sure if Noah has damage or not. I'm not sure what happened to him, but you can never count him out. And these guys from JBR are normally pretty fast, so I keep my eye on them too.
Well, fingers crossed you'll have a good run here in stage 3 as well. Before I let you go, Kenny, anybody you'd like to shout out for your number 24 gas and go machine?
I give you guys the spotlight. You, Nolan, Al, and Rob make this all happen for me. I appreciate it.
And thank you, Kenny, for taking time to join us up here in the booth. Congrats on a Stage 2 P2 finish. Best of luck in Stage 3.
10-4.
So that was Kenny Powell finishing off runner-up in stage number 2. Out of turn 2 for the final time for green flag racing. Let's take one more quick step away. We'll be back in a moment.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
And coming around through 3 and 4 with 1 a lap to green, it will be 50 laps to go when we take that green flag. So a very perfect, and I honestly love this, Al. Nice, even 50-lap run. Makes it very easy to calculate, right? Just pit 25 laps into the stint, and you're good to go to the end on fuel.
Yo, you really think it's that easy? I don't know, man. A lot of things are going to depend on that. I think some drivers are going to want to pit to the short side of that, and some guys are going to want to maybe go to the long side of that. It just depends on where everybody ends up. But one thing I know for sure, you guys going to have to boogie to make this work, because this is the last chance, and you don't get another stage caution. The next flag that ends it is that checkered flag. So.
Green flag drops, and we're back underway for the third and final stage. Johnson gets away well. No bits trying to follow suit. Bear Guphold caught napping on the start. Going to be passed up by a couple of drivers on the outside row. How about the outside line having such a massive charge? Now, though, Uphold going to have Noah Bits to work with on the bottom side. Now, this could be crucial here, but how about Greg Wachinski in the G&G number 5? He's charging around the outside line, trying to make a run on Johnson and Severa just up the road from them. And this is where it can get real in. You see real quick. Here comes Frontline to the inside. He's got a shake and make driver right behind him. Barrett Gutfold is going to be charging through, and for the first time all race long, it will be G&G knocked off the throne as Frontline goes to the front.
Yeah, but G&G's just regrouping. That's all they're doing. They're allowing their chance to get their team back together because that's going to make them more money in the long run. Severa leading the race right now. They've already proven they've got the fastest cars, so that G&G team, they're just going to regroup, and I think you're going to see them charging here pretty soon.
You saw Wayne Grossi just exiting pit road. He had had to come back down to get a bit of extra damage repaired, I believe, or potentially serving a penalty for the number 7 Chevrolet. So he will now find himself a lap down with a lot of work to do, and a caution is what he will need if he wants to get himself back in contention for some serious points here tonight. Looking deeper in the field, Kyle Green just getting past Chris Johnson, who is slipping further and further back. You see Kenny Powell back there in the mix of this as well. Has not gone Powell's way on the restart. Wachinski now sliding backwards as well, right towards the rear end of this field. And just now getting tucked back in line, courtesy of Kenny Powell lifted off a little bit to allow him to get in the line. Now, unlike the second stage restart and more akin to the first stage restart, 18 cars make up this front-running train so far. That is about everybody so far on the field except for just 2 drivers, which is good news, I'd imagine, for a lot of these guys that are slower in the field who might not get another yellow flag if they fall off in the draft again.
Yeah, that's just got to be disheartening for Grassi, as he's going to find himself by himself. And, you know, if you don't have a draft partner at this track, you're just literally waiting on that herd to come stomping behind you. So we'll have to watch out for him, but that's also going to play a factor into this. Because
Straight away in the tri-oval. Look out as Ken Ayla gets sideways and somehow wrestles the 52 Camry back under control. No caution flag. How the heck do you manage to save that?
he pedaled it. He drove that thing sideways right through the grass, brought it right back on the field. Didn't even mess his hair up. Way to go.
Gotta get another look at that one. That has got to be the save of the season so far, if not in league history. I mean, that thing was sideways. That thing was gone. You do not just save some of that and get away with it. You got to have cat-like reflexes to wrestle that car back under control. It was a checkup and then a tip from Joshua O'Connor. And watch how far sideways that car shot. Left, right, and the field scrambled up high and somehow wrestling it back under control. Watch some of the wheel work that this 52 car had. He must have had to be working that wheel big time inside that car, wanting to keep that thing under control. Well, who knows? Somebody's got to let the car just do its own thing, apparently.
Hey, Nolan, hey. Sorry, I just slowed that down and looked at it again, and it appeared that Jesus had the wheel.
You don't say. I mean, holy cow. Thanking those lucky stars, no doubt, in the number 52 car. Now, he also needs a caution to get himself back up into the running order, but it could be a lot worse. I mean, I'll take some smoked up tires in comparison to being out of the race entirely.
Well, worst case scenario, Grassi gets a dance partner, you know, because as long as you got somebody to work with, you increase your chances of staying on the lead lap. You find yourself by yourself, it's just a long day out at the races.
Saw Chris Severa just jump big time out of line. Now he's moving further to the back. I think he might be trying to link up or give it a drafting help to his G&G teammates who are starting to make a charge to the outside line. That's exactly what he's doing. Moving to the top side to give a draft to Wachinski, but has to defend against Pangale as well. This is some dangerous stuff here from Severa, who is trying to block two lanes at once while keep up to pace. I mean, there are some ways of getting your teammates back with you. I guess that's one more unorthodox way. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the wisest thing to do when there is still 44 laps to go in this race. It appears to be working for him, though, as Wachinski has pulled his way back up. And now we'll link up with Severa, and they might be trying to make a charge at the outside line. They've got 6 cars up there. If they can probably link up, they might find themselves back in the front of this field before long.
Yeah, and the one way that outside line will work is if the longer the line you get, you will always, because that inside line is going to check up. If you get a big enough group on that outside line, you actually can overpower that inside line because they will have to check up.
Well, you talked about at the start of this broadcast, Al, how we thought we were going to be seeing single file racing. Stage 3 was where it was going to get interesting. Well, sure enough, that's what we're seeing here today. I didn't expect to see this kind of thing until later on in this run, but I'm not going to complain about it now. It's better than watching single file racing for the next 50 laps or so, right? So you got that second line trying to work with each other here. But look at Brian Watson being pulled back due to the side draft, and the outside line appears to have stalled. Richard Elliott starting to build a small gap over Brian Watson, so JBR teammates trying to keep linked up together. Kyle Green also in the mix down on the bottom. He is now losing the draft, and cars starting to bail out from the outside line. It's now a 4-car train made up of exclusively a G&G crew up on the top side. It's Severa, the Machinsky, Powell, and Chris Johnson right in behind. Green is bailed for the top side, so has Adrian Watts. Watson thinking about the top side with Richard Elliott. That's not going to happen, though. Getting pushed down below the apron was going to be that of Kyle Green. He brings it back up there with no further incidents. That outside line so far has stalled, and they're going to need a couple more drivers if they want to make their way up to the front.
Absolutely. Like I said, they're going to have to find that lonely cowboy that's just looking for a group to ride with, because they're not going to be able to do it with 4. It's good that they're actually out there seeing it, because they'll know now that, hey, look, we're going to have to figure something out, whether it's get back in line or get some trust of somebody to come out there and work with them. But let's go. Let's just get this thing closed up. That's got to be what they're thinking.
They're able to make such a good charge on the straightaways, but the corners is where they just stall out entirely. See, Adrian Watts has gone up now to maybe give that outside line another chance. Oh, bit uncoordinated though. And Chris Johnson abandons his teammates back down to the low side. I think that is it for the outside run. They got all squirrely around Greg Wyszynski out at turn 4, and well, now it's just a 3-car train up there, and you're definitely not going to make any progress with that when you're that far away from each other.
Now you definitely got to find a way to close the gap and keep the air out of the group. So now these guys are starting to make it around, and we're starting to see this thing kind of split up a little bit. Now, the bad thing is if we don't get Severa and these guys to get back in line, they're going to find that gap, like we talked about earlier, it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and it is going to be hard to close that, barring some unforeseen event like a caution. So these guys are going to have to really get it together. You know, I don't know, G&G, get it together and figure it out, because we're running out of time.
Let's take a quick look top to bottom on how your Tucson Soundar field is looking so far. Noah Bitts, you're still your race leader up in front. Uphold holding the solid second in serious contention for a race win in his inaugural start. Joshua Watson and Frank Flores third and fourth, with Richard Elliott rounding out your top 5. It's Brian Watson in 6th. Patton Gill 7th, Kyle Green 8th place. Solid run for Green after starting all the way back in 21st. Adrian Watts is 9th, with Chris Johnson rounding out your top 10. Then it's Severa, Wyszynski, and Powell, who I think at this point have given up on the outside line. That's the end of the guys in this main pack. Then you got Paul Olson and Joshua O'Connor, who are together. The Jay Hones trying to catch up to them. Ken Ayland and Gary Adamson are in the 2-car tandem with each other. Avery's running by himself, and then lonely Greg Wyszynski 2 laps down and still losing significant time, set to go 3 laps down, I'd imagine it within the next 10 laps or so. So that's a look top to bottom at your Tucson Soundar field so far in the Rock Auto 250 from the Talladega Super Speedway. And now G&G starting to lose touch with the main train as Johnson got shuffled out of line, got arrow loose, and now a big gap starting to open up from Severa back to Adrian Watts. Could this be it for G&G? They got to get back in line. They're all linked up together, but they need to coordinate. They need to set themselves up for a run. Can't just make the moves like you used to back in the package at the start of 2021. It's a very different racing world, I guess you could say, we live in now, and it's one that some teams are adapting to, but G&G still seem to be holding that mentality that if they just make the look, it's going to pull them up to the front themselves.
Yeah, you know, I'm wondering what's going on with Jay Hone, the 12 car. He didn't want to be in the front of the pack earlier, and now he's kind of found himself off the pace. I don't know, maybe if the setup isn't right, or what's happening with that 12 car. Damage, I don't know. You got any takes?
I mean, who knows really at this point, right? I mean, Jay Hone has made a series of choices so far, and some of them have worked, some of them have not. You see him being passed up now by Ken Aylen and Gary Adamson around the outside line, and he's already going to be losing the lead of that draft before he can even link up with them. I mean, I think Jay Holmes had it, to be perfectly honest. I mean, he's just falling back. He can't get linked up with anybody. I think he's kind of in the dust at this point. And like so many others, hoping for a yellow flag. But as we have seen several times so far over the course of this race, a yellow flag is never too far off. I mean, it looks like they're all fine going single file, but even 3 nights ago on Thursday night, right, when we saw one driver loose all by himself out of turn 2, came out of nowhere, and he slammed the inside wall. Didn't bring out a yellow then, but you never know if he could have overcorrected up into the field. So it's one of those things that's always kind of, I think, play into the back of your mind. What do you do if a caution comes out? And more importantly, if you guys further towards the rear of this bigger train here, how do I avoid it?
Yeah, these cars, like they do, there's some Queertrons or something in there that they just, sometimes they just kind of get crazy on you. So there is still that possibility that there will be a single car spin, or, you know, we still haven't had the big one yet. You know, this is Talladega, so I don't know. I think there's going to be another caution.
Look at this one from the air now, and I have a feeling that pit strategies are not going to be too far off. I think this is when I think we have to really start thinking about pit strategies, right? We're less than 10, or we are actually 10 laps away from that pit window. Estimated fuel run of 27 laps. They've been out there for 17 now. So they'll be running on fumes around lap 77-ish. That'll be about with 25 to go. What do you reckon the strategy is going to be? Because obviously you have to come down with everybody else. Do you think teams are going to try to see if they can potentially get their way through and sort it out amongst themselves and just hope as many people come with them as possible?
So this is going to get interesting because a lot of things happen at green flag pit stops. Number one is what you thought was going to work early might not work now. 2, you got to stop the car. These brakes are cold, and trying to get these cars slowed down enough, because that's where you're going to try to make up your time. You're going to try to go in as hot as you can, get it slowed down. Next thing is maybe some of those teams want to actually go longer and hope that maybe the pit road green flag stops creates a caution. So there's a lot of different variables that are playing out there. Plus, this is an opportunity for you, if you're driving by yourself, to maybe find a partner, you know, pit with somebody, a group that's already in. So it's a lot of things happening through these guys' heads as they're starting to try to figure out when they're coming in, how much fuel they have left. Because even that number changes, whether you're in the front of the draft, the back of the draft, or by yourself. So
just kind of taking a look at some of the moves and shakers so far in this race. While we wait for the green flag pit stops to roll around, somebody to try to bonsai move further down in this main pack at the moment. Kyle Green, I think, very unsurprisingly, most spots gained so far. He's plus 13, currently running 8th place. He started all the way back to 21st. The 2 drivers that have dropped the most, unfortunately, is Kenny Powell, who is both stage 1 and 2 runner-up, along with Chris Johnson. They both dropped 10 spots. They're running 12th and 13th at the moment. Now, here is something that I think you'll find quite interesting, because we were just talking about where all of his pace went throughout this stage 2 and 3. Fastest lap of the race so far. How about Jay Hone, the driver we were just talking about, how he was having something up and he was off the pace, 48.160. That was set all the way back on lap 4. And he was running up with the main grouping. So I think that kind of confirms that he's got something awry with his machine.
yeah, and it's the funny thing about this cars, we talked about them before, you know, just the slightest amount of damage for one guy is actually seemingly nothing, where another guy, you know, it really affects his car. So I don't know, maybe if Jay got into somebody or what, but he's definitely off the pace.
Field's about to catch Wayne Grossi. They're about 2 or 3 seconds away from him. The top 3 starting to break away from Frank Flores. Richard Elliott is starting to fall back in 5th place as well. They're all trying to close on up, maybe mount a charge on the G&G crew just up the road. Grossi stayed nice and wide out of the way. He wants nothing to do with this lead lap battle, I think it's safe to say. He just wants to get through safely, but this is going to put him 3 down, which means he would then need about 3 cautions, providing nobody else goes a lap down, to put himself back on the lead lap.
Yeah, he's just going to stay high and wide as these guys are now starting to come into that pit window. You're going to start to see teams starting to get a little, they'll start to get a little distance between themselves as these guys, because, they can't stick their hand out the window, but they're definitely going to start to get ready to go.
.30 laps remaining so far in the Rock Auto 250. And if you're liking what you're seeing so far on the track, well, tune in to not just Saturday night, but also to the Thursday night iRacing Stock Car Association Butt-Kicker Cup Series weekly races on both Thursday and Saturday night's Green Flag at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, we would be happy to have you, whether you are watching us on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook Live. Welcoming all of our audiences once again to the presentation. If you are just joining in, then you're watching the ISCA Stock Car Association Rock Auto 250 in the Tucson Sound Art Cup Series. My name is Noel Rempel. I've had Alfonso Nixon beside me so far throughout the course of tonight, with Rob Melding once again doing great work down behind the cameras for tonight's race. 34 laps to go this time by, and now less than about 10 laps away from when we can expect to see our first bout of green flag pit stops all night.
I always get excited when it comes about the time for green flag pit stops. I'm like a kid at Christmas time, so just wanting to see who's going to mess it up, because little things, man, you overslide your box, you come in too hot, you lose these races on pit road.
Well, Wayne Grossi's hopes of getting on to the lead lap just got a little bit worse as that was Don Avery going a lap down. So Wayne Grossi now needs 4 yellow flags if he was to just get up there on lucky dogs alone, which is not good news for Grossi, because those chances of getting those 4 yellows that he might need grow slimmer every single lap. Now, we're not yet at the point where if a caution comes out, drivers can make it to the end of this race. If a caution comes out now, they would still have to stop one more time before this race comes to a close. So they're still not safe, which is why we're not seeing anybody trying to really stop early. There really only is like a 2-lap window really where you could come in early and still be good to the end on fuel. And that is going to be about 25 laps in. They're about to be hitting their 18th lap.
Yeah, I think Grassi needs a lot more than just a caution, though. I mean, I think he's significantly off the pace for whatever reason. As speaking of off the pace, we got the 12 car Jay Hone. He's on pit road.
Jay Hone, the first of the drivers to come in on the green flag pit stops, all by himself. I do not agree with this call in the slightest here, Al, because once again, not safe. He is gonna have to come down one more time. No way he makes it to the end of this race on that one stop.
But it's just like what we saw in Atlanta, Nolan. If you're running by yourself and you're not caught up in the draft, your fuel consumption is completely different versus a guy that's running in, say, a pack of 4 or 5.
I might work at a track like Atlanta where you have to lift a little bit, but I mean, not at Talladega where you're foot to the floor the whole way, even if you are in a train.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him either. I can only speculate.
I wonder if he short fueled at the end of stage 2 to try to short pit and then misjudged it.
Yeah, he's still been off the pace, though.
Well, it's a mystery. It's a very big mystery in Jay Hone's case. I mean, you set the fast lap of the race, and you find yourself a lap down now. I don't have an explanation for it. I really don't.
Green flag pit stops underway.
And this is where it gets interesting. 25 laps remaining, and that's close into pit road. 3 wide with Severa in the middle. It was a huge log for Brian Watson. And how about Severa shooting the gap? Does everybody get into their pit stalls safe and sound? It looks like everybody will. That incident, Severa slides through! Severa misses the pit box, and that could cost Severa a lot of time. Does he come out with a drafting partner? That is going to be a very crucial factor at the moment as cars go up on the jacks. We're right in that range where drivers can make it to the end. And Wachinski is out first. Severa is out second. Good news for Severa. He will be with drafting partners. And now you can see everybody else coming in behind him. Bitts is into pit road. Uphold, Flores, Pattingale, Kyle Green coming in as well.
Kyle Green was actually scheduled to pit with those guys. It's like he didn't get the message because he really just lost the pace coming around once everybody else went into the pit. So that's really going to affect his outcome on this race.
Oh, you're right. Looking back at it, he tried to slow down and just couldn't get it down in time. Missed pit road. So that's why he's so far back. He might have shot himself in the foot with that. It'll be 24 laps to go this time by. Wachinski is just coming around 4 now. And now out of the pits, Noah Bitts is clean and green as the rest of the field comes to the tri-oval. And Green is going to be in pit road, and he is going to have lost his race. And the hopes of Green getting his first win in this race are now dashed. Now, look out for Greg Wachinski coming around turns 1 and 2 right now. Bitts is on the apron. Bitts is out clean by a country mile from Bear Gutpold, but Wachinski is charging up fast. Flores trying to find a spot to merge in. He'll get that spot all done and dusted. The gap, though, between the back train and the front two is about 3.3 seconds. And Flores, news from the 28 cam, a black flag for Flores, sees him having to come back down pit road. Same with Chris Johnson, I think.
You see why I love green flag pit stops? They are the telltale indicator. You have to pit perfect, just like you have to race perfect.
Well, just like Thursday night, drama on the green flag pit stops. I don't think the drama is quite as great as it was back then with the whole team getting cleaned out like bowling pins on pit entry. But it's pretty close to it.
Yeah, those are the things that that's the thing you have to think about when you're doing team racing. If one incident like that, it potentially could take out your entire team. So now that changes things for that G&G crew because now they're all split up. So best case scenario is they hope they can kind of get back together, regroup if they're going to have any chance of just trying to even get a late race run on this thing.
And now coming closer and closer to 20 laps to go. These drivers should be good to go to the end from here. 1.1, the current gap from from first to third place. The gap is closing in. The 3-car train is definitely faster than the 2-car train. The good news for Uphold and Bitts, though, if they just hold the bottom end and force the 3 cars to go around the top, they'll be able to easily tuck in the line, and they won't have an issue about losing the draft. So this is great news for Uphold and Bitts, who might even be able to hold on to the race lead.
Yeah, if they just kind of move up a little bit, it would be a lot more difficult for these guys to pass them. It's just going to be interesting to see if they give up that run or if they're going to try to get their elbows out and secure that lead spot. Because losing the lead here is probably going to be a lot harder than getting the lead here.
Here they go. Wachinski up top. Johnson's trying to follow, but they can't get organized, and Severa has to bail. Powell's going to go with Severa, and Wachinski is going to fall further and further back. So, top 5 breakaway green flag stops are complete. Let's take one step away, and we'll be back with under 20 laps to go in just a few moments with the Rock God at 250 at Talladega.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing SoundArt, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
Come alive in the streetlight, pulling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
Well, we're back. Not quite live at Talladega. Looking at a replay because, well, just as we went to the break, wouldn't you know it, that's when Severa made a bonsai move for the lead. Watch this one here. Uphold starts to nudge Severa up. And Kenny Powell opted to follow. This is where it gets hectic, though. Bitts tries to block the run. And Severa not having any of it, juking left, then right, all the way back up. And despite all of that craziness, G&G charged through because the inside lane was broken up. And that means it is now, once again, G&G 1, 2, 3 up in front. So it's Severa, Powell, Wachinski, Bitts, Uphold, Joshua Watson, Richard Elliott, then Brian Watson, Patton Gale, Adrian Watts. And, of course, you have Olsen, O'Connor, Adamson, Aylen as the last cars on the lead lap floors. The first car one down, then it's Hone, Johnson, Avery, Grassi, with Green, Marty Phillips, and Ryan Cliver, all retirees in this race.
Yeah, I think Green really, he kind of didn't like the outcome of his pit.
I can't say I blame him. I mean, he tried to come down pit road with the leaders. It might have worked. He was getting set for a good finish. But, I mean, you miss pit road, and it's basically over, right? I mean, you will have lost the draft of guys up in front. And how about that for a move with Noah Bitts charging his way through with Wachinski not having anything of it. But Bitts is going to go on through, door banging down the front straightaway. Wachinski gets muscle back, and that's going to put a dent in G&G's plans.
Yeah, if you think Noah Bitts is just going to sit back and allow the G&G guys just to roll on out of Alabama with the trophy, I think you just thought that wrong. Because if anybody's going to go ahead and stick their nose in there, it's going to be Noah Bitts. So as this race does continue, don't rule out a late race shenanigan.
But don't forget, Noah Bitts also won the Thursday night race for the Butt Kicker Cup Series. He's trying to go back-to-back and sweep the week.
Absolutely. He's not trying to pad the G&G story. He's trying to go out there and secure a win for the home team. So this thing is far from over. It's going to get a little sporty. We've got drivers all over the track. There's racing all over the track, racing for position. But understand, if a caution does come out, it's going to change the entire dynamics of this thing. So don't just think that it's over just yet.
I find it funny because you got drivers from two rival teams, like G&G and Frontline. They are such big rivals at this point in time, trying to match each other. And then you just have Uphold just caught in the middle of them with no idea where to go or what to do. I mean, he's the newcomer to all of this, right? I'm not sure if he quite knows the history behind these two teams, but he's just riding with it. He's just taking what he can get at the moment. And I mean, hey, fourth place in your inaugural start on the plate track, no less, where it's so hard to pass. That's nothing to be ashamed about. I mean, hey, he's still very much in contention for a potential race win.
Very much in contention, and he is the odd man, which means that he's the tiebreaker. So whichever way he does decide to go, as this thing decides to go on, if Bitts does decide to go out on a run, if he comes up on the tail end of that, that'll even change this scenario, because somebody's got to try to figure out who's this kid's loyalty line to.
I have a feeling at the moment it lies to himself, and at the moment, I will be honest, I'm very familiar with Barrick Uphold, right? And I remember I was talking to him once, and he doesn't necessarily play sides of that. He was like, oh, I don't care about any other teams. I'm just in it for myself. So at any given point, if he sees a point where he can dish these two teams and push his own way to the front, he's going to take it.
And then there's that.
And now we play the waiting game. And it's the point where every lap the tension starts to grow just a little bit more, because you know that all of these drivers are going to be analyzing how each other is running in the draft. How are they running with each other? They're going to be strategizing. They're going to be making plans, multiple plans potentially every single lap about how to defend, how to attack, depending on what happens. If somebody makes this move, do I go with them or do I stay to the bottom, or do you just play it by ear the whole way?
What a tangled web we weave. So it's going to be interesting because, you know, just like you said, everybody's just waiting right now. They're just watching the guy in front of them, and they're just waiting on that opportunity to pounce. And like we've already seen, when these guys are ready to go, they're going to stop. They're going to block. It doesn't matter how many laps are left. So that's another thing that's going to be pretty exciting about this as we get down to it. We might see a 4-wide finish.
Well, they got 5 cars. 5-wide finish, maybe? I haven't seen one of those in a while. I think it might be a bit too much to ask at this point. It's going to be interesting, and then what's even going to be more interesting is what they do with the lap traffic that they're starting to come up on in the form of Ken Aylen and Gary Adamson. And it looks like those 2 lap cars are going to move to the top side and allow the leaders through on the bottom. So once again, lap traffic not opting to get in the way of a battle like this for the lead. And once again, I mean, these guys sit in a line, but they're planning this out. They're trying to set their moves up for that last crucial lap. I think Talladega Superspeedway with this particular drafting package is where it really takes the phrase of how NASCAR is a game of chess at 200 miles an hour to a whole new level.
Yeah, absolutely. As these guys are coming down to 10 to go, you know, right now, when they started this thing, they had a plan. Now everybody's looking at their playbook and they're having to come up with a new plan. So it's going to be interesting for us to see what kind of plays that they have come up with, especially when it comes to these D&G guys up front. That's the one thing I'm excited about, seeing how it unfolds.
Well, don't forget, you've also had Kenny Powell that missed his box under the stage 2 caution. He said that kind of threw his playbook out the window. He was just going to try to get his way back up there. That has been succeeded. And at first, when they came out 1, 2, 3 from the pit stops, you thought maybe they would be able to stick with each other and just hold off the rest of the field. That hasn't gone their way either, though, because now Greg Wyszynski could actually be out of it. I'm going to be honest, I don't think Wyszynski's winning this race. And the reason why I say that, yes, it's a G&G 1-2, but he's got 2 cars he's going to have to overtake, and neither of them are going to want to work with him. And then while all of this is going on, you still have more lap traffic steadily getting into the mix. And that is Don Avery and Wayne Grossi now just up the road. And you can see even Ken Aylen has tucked in line right behind the top 5. He hasn't made moves yet, but with who he decides to support when it comes down to it, even that could have an impact as to how this all plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are still in it. I mean, they're contenders and they're draft factors, if you think about that. So even the lap traffic, because you're going to have to maneuver around these guys. Just so many dynamics and so many factors left out here.
I believe it'll be 8 to go at the line. So far, we have only had 2 caution flags today, and one of them was a stage yellow. Well, I guess technically they both were stage yellows. One of them just came out a little bit prematurely on the same lap. It has been a much cleaner race than the other race over on the Thursday night race was. I mean, over there we had a few cautions for various incidents. That has not been the case so far tonight.
Yeah, I think these guys had a little bit more time and actually lined it up to just kind of be here at the end of this thing and try to bring it home.
With so little time to go and not much moves left to be made, I'd say about 6-7 minutes left in this race. Why don't we ride on board with the one driver who is currently not a factor when it comes to actual position battles? Let's ride on board with Ken Allen, as he's got a front row seat for your battle for the lead.
Where do you like to be at, Nolan, at this point of the race? I mean, are you wanting to be up front? Are you wanting to be in third place? Are you wanting to be in second place? You've raced at Talladega enough coming down to the end of this thing to try to figure out, you know, where you want to go and how you want to do it. Where's Nolan putting his car at right now?
I'm putting my car firmly on the back bumper of the first place car in second, because you have the best possible chance of being able to go for a win. Because the guys behind you know that when you make that move out, they know that if they want to have a chance to go for the win, they have to push you first.
Yeah, the second place car, I mean, his position really is solidified as the pusher of the first place car. So there's no doubt about that. You know where he's going to have to go. He doesn't have a choice. Best case, you know, you try to slingshot there at the end. Me, I'm a third place kind of guy because I want to be, or fourth place. I want to be the decision guy. You know what I mean? I want to be able to get my nose out there and force that guy behind me to come on. You know what I mean? Because that's my best run at
it. As soon as the second place driver decides to ditch the first place driver, it basically, oh boy, caution flies. A crash back straightaway. Joshua Watson from 6th place has wrecked it by his own teammate. So this throws another wrench in the works out. We didn't talk about this yet. How do you reckon a green white checker mixes things up?
Just makes it better Talladega. So now, here's my caution. Now we got a chance for the big one.
Taking a look back here, single car spin, back straightaway. Joshua Watson with just a bad bump from his teammate Richard Elliott. Right about here, just hooks him hard into the outside wall. Wayne Grossi just managed to scramble and avoid that to the inside. I want to look on board with Wayne Grossi if we can on that one, because holy cow. One moment you're fine, the next moment you got a face full of Chevrolet in your face.
Yeah, his day is done. That was such a hard impact to that outside wall as well. So, man, that's just what a heck of a way to end your day, though. You know, just devastating.
So caution is out with under 5 laps to go. I believe this does put us in a green white checker territory. Does anybody come down to pit road?
Absolutely
so far,
not.
Nobody's not. Yeah, I don't blame him. Nobody's taking the chance.
Absolutely
nobody is going to. Why would you?
The only thing you're gonna get, right? The only thing you're gonna gain by coming down pit road right now is just a better view at somebody else's back bumper as you're gonna come back out at the rear of the field. You know, so one car, for obvious reasons, he can't even make it back around again. But yeah, now we're gonna line them up, and now is a chance where all of the marbles are back on the table. We've got 12 lead lap cars. How many possibilities?
Oh boy. It's all kicking off at Talladega. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the final green flag stint in just a moment.
There are moments that surprise and delight the mind and the senses. Introducing Sound Art, the world's first truly customizable, concealed, flat panel art speaker system. A revolutionary combination of incredible sound delivered from your most meaningful pictures. When art and technology intersect, there is a seamless blend of creativity and function.
I'm alive in the streetlight, calling at the stars in the moonlight. Every time I feel you close.
With Sound Art, anyone can print their own artwork or pick from numerous licensed artwork that we have. The possibilities are limitless. Enjoy beautiful and amazing sound throughout your home. The entire surface of your artwork generates incredibly robust sound. Your art never sounded so good.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
Just waiting to see if it is going to be 1 to green this time by, and this is where it could get all kicked off. Lights are out on the pace car. Severa taking outside line for this restart out. What do you make of that?
Well, that's where he goes anyway, so why not go ahead and get up top and get your run, and that way hopefully try to check on back down. I'm just sitting here biting my nails, just waiting to see how this thing's going to pan out, because like I said, we bunched everybody back up together. It's been a long time since we've had everybody back together like this, and now everybody can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So guys who thought their chance was done are now thinking they got a chance to be a contender for this thing, and don't expect it to get back in line. I think at this point in the race, they're going to push that outside line. It has to work. If you got a chance, that outside line has to work now.
And we were talking about this just before we came back as well. This is going to be a nat green-white checkered, so it'll be 2 laps to go and take the green flag. We're still ending this under regulation time. But the very crucial factor here, Al, is this means that if they wreck on this first lap to green, they very possibly could not have enough fuel to make it to the end. In which case, it could come down to another round of splash and dash pit stops.
Or, Bondo damage repair. I mean, I think that's going to be more like it. It's just, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be that guy. And he's out there. He's hanging out right there in the group. We just got to wait to call his number.
We thought it was only going to be the top 5 that had a chance. That has been blown wide open. And Chris Severa is going to have to fight for his life if he wants to keep the likes of Bitts, Uphold, and more behind him. Does Powell help out Severa, or does he decide to abandon teammateship and go for the glory himself? Looking to be coming to the green flag this time by. It'll be in the hands of Chris Severa on the outside line. Could get a solid launch here. He's got to coordinate this big time, though, with Kenny and Powell in to the restart zone. And this is it. 2 laps to go from Talladega.
And they're off. This big Al get his big one. That's the one. That's the question.
Now, you wanted to put your car in 3rd place right out. Well, look at Barrett Uphold tucking in between Bitts and Powell, right where you think he needs to be if he wants to go to get a race win.
And definitely Barrett's going to make a name for himself tonight one way or another. He is going to show these guys that he is a rookie, but only to this series. So as drivers were racing single file now, they're setting it up as get ready to come around for that final lap. Who's going to make the move first?
Coming around through turns 3 and 4, it's going to all come down to just 1 lap, and the move will have to be made, I'd imagine, either out of turn 4 or on the back straightaway through the tri-oval. They just got to make it about another 600 feet, and this race will be official, and that is it. We're ending this under regulation time. 2.6 miles to go from Dega.
And everyone is on their feet as the drivers come around the turn for the last turn. Waiting patiently. This is the time right now when I'm just sitting here waiting. Somebody's got to make the move. Where's it going to come from?
How about Wachinski in the background making the charge on the outside line? Elliott's there as well. Olsen's going with them. O'Connor's on the outside line trying to mount the charge. Powell still working with Chris Severa. Uphold starting to back bits up, trying to get a run to see if he can maybe push through. Out of turn number 4. If Powell's going to go for the win, it's going to have to be here. Out of turn number 4 and into the tri-oval. Powell might be too far back trying to get the run, but it's going to be too little too late. And Chris Severa will win the Rock Auto 250 from Talladega.
Well, that was
And how about Barra Gutpold coming home third in his first ever ISCA start? Just about as good of a first result as you could possibly hope for. Meanwhile, Betts, who won the last race, doesn't even manage to make it on the podium. Kenny Powell opted to play teammate and help Chris Severa push his way home and get himself a race win here tonight in the Rock Auto 250. So Severa is your race winner by just under a tenth of a second from Kenny Powell. Barra Gutpold rounds out third place from the podium. Fourth is going to hold Noah Betts with Brian Watson in fifth. Adrian Watts is sixth. Greg Wachinski is seventh with Paul Olsen eighth. Joshua O'Connor is ninth. And how about Robert Pattingill back to form as he takes the top 10? That's going to put Richard Elliott in 11th place with Ken Allen in 12th. How about Joshua Watson, 13th place of the last guy on the lead lap? From there, it's Chris Johnson, Frank Flores, Jay Home, Gary Adamson, Don Avery, Wayne Grossi, with Kyle Green not finishing this race, along with Marty Phillips and Ryan Cliver to round out our 22-car grid here from the Talladega Superspeedway in the Rock Auto 250. As Severa burns down on the front straightaway, don't go away. We'll be back with your post-race show in just a moment.
I used to have to go in to the auto parts store. Pay too much, never find quite what I'm looking for. Now I just go online to Rock Auto and see all the parts my car will ever need. Lower prices, more parts, more brands. It's so easy to find the right parts fast. All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com.
And well, back here in Victory Lane at the Rock Auto 250 at the Talladega Super Speedway. Standing by now is one Chris Severa, who owes Kenny Powell a beer after this one for pushing him to a race victory as he came to the tribal on that last lap. Chris, was that always going to be the plan, or did you think Kenny might want to throw you to the wind with a whole pack of cars looking to take that win away from you in the Tri-Oval?
Yeah, I was definitely a little worried. I jumped it a little too early. A little bit, might be a little bit of an exaggeration. I was definitely worried that somebody was going to try and take a run there at the end when we initially stacked up. Luckily, nobody didn't. And just like you said, it's just once everybody stacks up, it's just so hard to get a run and do it. So again, I'm just lucky that we were able to get the lead before that caution came out. I wish it would have went green the entire way, because if we could have had a finish like we had a fight for the lead there right before that yellow, it would have been a great finish. But I'm not complaining at P1.
And of course, this does mean that you're going to find yourself even further up in those point standings at the end of this one, right? I mean, you came into this race already at first place in the points, even though you finished second at Atlanta. But now with this win, you're looking to extend your lead out there. Is it safe to say that you definitely might have your eyes set on a potential championship at this point and for the first season of 22?
I think it's a little early to call it for that. It's definitely, we got like 10 more weeks to go. But definitely I just knew after last week, seeing how close the points were and seeing that there's just such a big point jump from first to second, that, first is definitely going to help a lot. But, it's nothing to can't really stop yet, but I'm hopeful for that.
And of course, next week it is going to be the Rockingham Speedway where we head things over next. How do you think that might go as we get sent to slow things down a little bit and go racing at a track that's got so much of a rich history behind it?
I'm actually really excited for it just because the tire package isn't, at least as of right now, it's not like Phoenix where it falls off in 30 laps, but there's just like so much banking there that, you know, you're able to rip it throughout the entire run. And I really think the high side, especially in 3 and 4, may be pretty viable there with, you know, if you can get clean air up top there, I think it's going to make for some exciting racing, definitely.
And well, before we let you go then, Chris, anybody you'd like to shout out for that race-winning Affleck G&G number 62 today?
Again, just everyone at G&G putting the laps in this week to work on the set, the fine tweaks. Like I said, every 100th of a second matters, so I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. Again, you guys up there, you guys do a fantastic show. You guys have to suffer through the single file madness, so we really appreciate you this week. But yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And thank you for taking the time to join us up here in the booth. Chris, congratulations on a race victory. Best of luck next week at the Rock.
Thanks, guys.
And well, Al, that is going to take us on down to the second G&G driver into G&G 1-2, and I'll pass things down to you as you're standing by with Kenny Powell.
Hey, Mr. Powell, how you doing tonight? Great finish.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Man, so I was sitting there and I was watching you. Could you explain to us what was going through your mind there the last couple of laps? And were you planning on going forward, or you had already decided that you were just going to tuck in behind your teammate?
I had a bunch of ideas bouncing around in my head. I definitely didn't want to do anything to jeopardize 1-2. So I was just going to play it by ear, see what happened on the last lap. But you know, it just worked out for Chris, and I was happy to push him to the finish.
Yeah, you guys had a strong showing in the first couple of stages, but you had a little bit of problem on the restart. You want to talk to us about that?
I mean, Chris chose the outside. That was kind of a plan. We talked about that before we went to green, and he was definitely going to get the jump there. And you know, so that was according to plan. I just didn't get as good of a start as I wanted to, but you know, things like that happen. After that, it was good to go. Caught up to him, and then I mean, I was confident nobody was going to pass us.
Roger, you guys had strong cars tonight. So as we get ready to head into Rockingham, that's a big stark contrast from Talladega. What are you guys looking forward to doing next week?
I think I'm looking forward to next week. I like the Rock. I think we're going to have a great set for the Rock. So I expect good things.
Awesome. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to all my guys at G&G Racing. You know, like Chris said, we started this week way off, and we definitely came together as a team, worked and put together a good set, and it showed. I'm happy to be able to show it here and be in this podium position.
Well, congratulations on those stage points as well as that second place finish. This is Big Al, and you enjoy your night.
Thank you.
And while that is going to bring it down to our third and final driver on the podium tonight, and it's a driver that I think got a start to his season a lot better than I think he might have hoped for. Barrick Uphill now joins us up here. First ever start in the ISCA. Now you find yourself third step on the podium. How about that?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Gotta be happy with it.
So how was it from your perspective out there tonight? Because, I mean, you were kind of caught in the mix between two rival teams that were going back and forth constantly, and you just kind of find yourself so caught in the middle ground with nowhere to go for a lot of it.
Yeah, it was real tough when you're battling teams like that. Noah, I haven't raced with him before, but we kind of linked up, me and Noah, and he was a huge help there, and actually broke up Gas and Go there for a second. We broke off one of the third driver. I'm not familiar with the names, but yeah, just couldn't get it done at the end because I mean my real only shot would have been if Kenny had challenged for the win and had a little side draft, and since there was nothing there, I just couldn't get a run.
And of course, 1 week from now, we're going to be heading over to the Rockingham Speedway, and it's going to be the first time at the ISCA that these next-gen cars are going to be using the low downforce, high horsepower package in any official capacity. What do you think we can potentially expect from that race?
I don't know. I haven't ran next gen there. I do like short tracks, so it should be a fun race. Richmond's always fun, I think, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
And well, before we let you go, then for your number 92 Bucky's Machine, who helps you to get it done in that car?
Yeah, just I was kind of running with Shake and Bake tonight with Robert and Frank Flores. So just a shout out to them and Tucson Sound Art with Robert.
Thank you, Ben, for taking the time to join us out of your Saturday night. Congratulations on a third place finish. Hopefully, it'll be the first of many in your ISCA career.
All right, thanks, guys.
And that is going to be just about a wrap then so far for us here from the ISCA and the Rock Auto 250 from Talladega Super Speedway. Al, Rockingham coming up in just 1 week's time. What do you think we can possibly expect? I mean, it's a very bumpy track, and well, again, low downforce, high horsepower package. So what so many people like to see. I can't wait for it.
I think it's going to be an awesome race, a great time, because, never has this combination ever occurred. This next-gen car's never been on Rockingham. So for these guys to be able to go out there and get a little door banging in on some Saturday night short track, I think that's just going to be an exciting time for everyone.
And well, from us here at the ICA, that is going to be a wrap for us here then from Talladega Super Speedway. Join us next week on Thursday night for the Buckkicker Cup Series when we go swinging on over to the Rock at the Rockingham Speedway. For now, I've been Ola Rempel with Alfonso Nixon beside me in the broadcast booth and Rob Melanie down behind the camera for tonight's race. Thank you for joining us for more ISCA racing action in the ISCA Tucson Sound Art Cup Series. We'll see you all next week in North Carolina.